HitchcockMovies.com. We are your hosts, Jeff and Diane, and this is movie number 9, Rich and Strange from 1931. And tonight, a rare romantic comedy from Mr. Hitchcock, and a rare movie originally conceived and written by Alfred N. Alma. Now, as Diane reminded me earlier, Alfred wrote the original screenplay for The Ring, and he and Alma wrote the original screenplay for this one, and that's pretty much the last time we're going to see that. From here on in, it's based on others' work. We mentioned in movie number 8, The Skin Game, that Alfred Hitchcock pretty much considered that the low point of his career. He was frustrated with all the stage plays that he was ordered to film by his bosses at British International Pictures. So at the end of last week's movie, he, Alma, and their 3-year-old daughter took a around-the-world cruise. They took a vacation, they took a trip, and boy, they came back rested and refreshed, and they came back with this idea for this movie about a young couple that go off sailing around the world to invigorate their lives. Now, after experimenting with new sound ideas in Blackmail and Murder, what's interesting about this one is he actually kind of reverts back to silent film mode a bit, with minimal dialogue, title cards, and sound effects. And this is okay. This is more like what most movies were at the time. They weren't quite sound films, they weren't quite sound films, they were kind of in the middle, and this is a lot like that, which is interesting. So this movie is more of a natural development of someone into sound. You remember with Blackmail, he thought he was filming a silent film, and they kind of forced him to turn it into a sound film. And in this movie, you really have both sort of styles of films. Now, the young couple is played by, Fred is played by Henry Kendall. He's an accountant, a civil servant living in London. He's bored with his job, he's bored with his life, he needs a change. His life is mundane. His wife, Emily, is played by Joan Barry. And now what's interesting is she was the voice of Annie Andra in the movie Blackmail, so we get to finally see what she looks like. Joan Barry ended up retiring pretty much after this movie. She just became a housewife herself in 1934, so Hitchcock had to find yet another blonde actress. Although it must be said with Joan Barry, he wasn't very happy with her. She had a tendency to, once he would say action and she would have a line, she would have a tendency to just hesitate and not really deliver that line, resulting in a lot of retakes, which were very expensive because film was rare, film was expensive. So this young couple inherit a sum of money from a dying uncle whose wish is for them to go and explore and live their life. And this sounds like a really good thing, but we all must remember this is, after all, an Alfred Hitchcock movie, so we'll see what ensues. They take a trip to Paris, much like the Hitchcocks did 4 years earlier in their honeymoon in 1920, what did we decide? 28, oh, it doesn't matter, 1926. And they go to Paris to see the sights, and see the sights they do. Once there, they decide to take a trip, a cruise to the Orient and have all sorts of adventures. In Egypt, they go to Sri Lanka, which was probably called Ceylon at the time, and Singapore, kind of like the Hitchcocks did on their trip. In fact, it's probably the only autobiographical movie you're going to see from Alfred Hitchcock. And just real quick, the names, Fred, our character, Alfred, and Emily, Alma, very similar, and their last name is Hill, Hitchcock, so there you have it. So, also want to point out one more actress in this movie, Elsie Randolph. She plays kind of an old maid, an annoying character. When Hitchcock met her when he was casting this role, he really had his doubts that this woman could pull it off, because in real life she was an actress and a comedian, a very famous one, and very attractive, very charming, and he really didn't think that she could pull it off until she put on a pair of glasses and said something and cracked him up, and he instantly knew she could do it. So look for that. Things to look for in this movie. Hitchcock in this movie basically is showing off. He's showing off every camera technique he's learned in the last few years. It must be pointed out and worth remembering that he still is only 33 in this movie. No, he's younger than that. He's actually just 31 or 32. So we'll look for his point of view shots again. We'll look for we'll also actually look for the use of music, which enhances what we see on the screen. Now there's no cameo to look for. Maybe he felt that he's pretty much in this movie anyways, so no cameo to look for. So there you go. From 1931, we're going to go ahead and watch this movie, Alfred Hitchcock's Rich and Strange. Waiter.
Your drinks.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Let's watch.